at Last Man Standing, I ran into someone who was running their first ultra there.
Oh my God.
And I was asking them, what their fueling strategy was. And I think they were coming from more of a bodybuilding aesthetic background. So they had chicken, rice, and broccoli.
Oh no.
Ready to consume in between each lap in preparation to fuel the next. I was like, hey man, like completely appreciate and respect the approach, but this is a different beast. You gotta approach this differently. Your body needs calories that are easily digestible. Protein's good, but it's you want carbs. You want some fat in there. And I'll never forget having this conversation because people will look at fueling performance in the same way that they view fueling aesthetics. And there's different levels of performance. There's performance like ultra, where you look at someone like a Courtney DeWalter who's eating sour gummy candy during her race to get the calories
savage,
in.
Man.
And then there's like your daily fueling of performance. That's these clean, natural, unprocessed, minimally processed foods that fuel your energy and your workouts and your recovery. But when I think of like fueling performance, first off, I think, and I kind of talked about this in my last podcast, like lay the foundation. That foundation for me is calories, and then it's protein. So like right off the bat, prioritize protein. And I always aim for 1 gram of protein per pound of body weight. And I want to ensure that I'm spacing that out throughout the day. What I found with a lot of people is you have to have a plan going into that day. It's really easy to fall behind on your protein. And if you're just eating what's available or you're just picking up something on the go, and you know this by experience of tracking your calories and your macros, it could be 6 p.m. at dinner. You're like, I wonder how many grams of protein I've consumed today. Oh, I've only consumed 25 grams of protein. I need to consume another 175 grams before I go to sleep to hit my goal. So for me, it's always have a plan of how you're going to be getting your protein in, or at least prioritizing protein intake throughout the day to ensure that by the time you finish that day or that night, you're wrapping up your 1 gram per pound of body weight. So that's like always my first approach.
Okay.
Then let's talk about carbs and then fat. Like how do you approach carbohydrates to fuel performance?
Yeah, so I use the same strategy. So first off, I look at the amount of protein I need, and that will factor in based on, whatever my need is for that period of time. Right now, I'm actually doing more than 1 gram per pound, right? Because I'm looking at the amount of intake I have from my just general maintenance. As I said, I've got to hit around 3,700 on average right now. 3,700 calories is what I need to eat right now to be maintenance or just above maintenance for my daily needs, right? So if I'm building muscle, which is something I struggle with. So, I'm quite a lean person. I easily stay lean. It's really hard for me to build muscle. I have to be really intentional with the amount of food I have. So therefore I'm having more protein. Once I work out my protein amount, it actually factors into say 30% or just around what I need for say 40% of my carbs and then the 30% of my fat. So once I work out that ratio of my protein or the grammage of protein, I associate it with my ratio with respect to percentage, and then therefore I can work out my carbs and therefore I can work out my fat. So to that point, knowing your calories will help you understand your essentially your overall needs, whereas protein helps you create the foundation for what your carbs and fat would be. So my fat, with 9 grams, with 9 calories associated with 1 gram of fat, and the same for being 4 grams or 4 calories with 1 gram of carb, and the same for protein, you can then work out what your calories are associated with those two respective macronutrients. So in this instance, I'm eating around 380 grams of carbohydrates and around 100 grams or just over 100 grams of fat. And I work that out after I work out my protein. And once I work out my protein, I associate with like a percentage of ratio. And that ratio is typically a 30-40 and maybe a 30, or it could be a 30-50-30 or a 30-50-20, whatever it is based on what I need. If that makes sense.
So you're trying to gain right now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Fuel performance to gain.
Yeah.
Do you ever get worried about going over those calories? Or is it just, this is my bare minimum of what I want to hit? If I go over slightly, that's okay.
Yeah, it's a good question. I don't think I've been in this situation. So when I played rugby, I was so into when I play rugby, you're obviously high impact, constantly, hitting people all the time. So you want to be big and strong. At that point in time in my life, though, I was so conscious about the way that I looked, so conscious. So I underfueled myself. Now, 15 years later, I'm looking at this going, I don't think I've actually given myself enough of a crack at building muscle with the right amount of food.
I think that happens to a lot of people. The fear of gaining too much holds people back.
Yeah. So I've never done that. So your question is do I fear it? I don't think so anymore, given knowing how quickly I know I can just turn into lean man. That's why I'm pretty dedicated. That's why when you saw me, I rocked up this morning. Oh, dude, everyone listening in right now, I rocked up to BPN HQ hangry. And part of the reason why I was hangry was because I was disappointed in myself that I didn't plan to have my food sorted properly. And I essentially ordered food, didn't rock up, and it's still my control, right? And then I got to put on me as responsibility. But I was so frustrated because I knew how much food I have to have on a daily basis. And I did a workout this morning, and knowing that I wasn't able to fuel myself properly frustrated me so much. It's like letting myself down. So I think more than anything, I'm not concerned about putting on too much. I'm finally giving myself the opportunity to build the muscle that I need to then perform with the strength that I need.
Well, if you're ever showing up to BPN HQ or anywhere that I'm at, I'm going to have food readily accessible.
Dude, this is the best part. This is why Nick's a fucking homie. Literally rocks up, and I felt terrible because I was late, because I was stressing about trying to get food and wasn't able to get it. And Nick looks at me, he's like, how are you? And I'm like, I'm very honest with Nick. I like using my homie. So I'm like, dude, I'm fucking hangry. And Nick's is first thing was just like, bro, let's go get you some just meats. Let's get you some food, dude. Let's get you some rice. Pulls out the red carpet. And dude, after that, I was like,
it's like, dude, of course I have prepped rice and 300 pounds of meat in our freezer in the back. I'll give you as many meals as you want. We always have food.
I know, dude. I don't like putting people out. And I never like taking advantage of true friends. That's all it is.
It's like me and Steph were traveling a few weeks ago for a wedding, and we're about to roll out for this wedding out of our hotel room. And I reached in the little mini fridge and I pulled out a Tupperware container of rice and chicken. And she's like, "Where did you get that?" I was like, I Instacarted a rotisserie chicken and some BT rice, and I wanted to prep this meal because I'm going to be gone for the next couple hours. I need my meal. She's like, you have a problem. It's like, no, I'm fueling my performance.
Absolutely.
That's not a problem.
And that's the thing though, full straight up though, that is a trigger. That is a habit. That is a cue. You have created that based on experience and full well knowing what is important for you to survive and thrive. Mm-hmm. But you've done it knowing full well what you need to do with your control. You knew that you weren't able to get food readily available potentially in the next few hours. In order for you to survive and thrive, you controlled the controllable and got food ahead of time. And I would say majority of people never think like that. We think impulsively. We don't plan. We think of what we need at that moment in time. And that's the biggest challenge we face when it comes to food. It's not working out how much we need. It's that we don't plan ahead like we treat a lot of other things in our day and our week in general.
If you ever see me in the airport, check me and be like, show me your meal. And I'll reach in my bag and I will pull out a Ziploc baggie of chicken, beef, rice, sweet potatoes. When I go to the airport, I always have a meal with me.
In a Ziploc bag?
In a Ziploc bag. It drives Steph crazy because she's like, you look like a bum. I'm sitting in the corner of the airport with my Ziploc bag and a plastic spoon eating out. People are looking at me thinking, what is this dude doing? I'm like, dude, this is 8 ounces of chicken and 300 grams of rice with some Primal Kitchen buffalo sauce.
This is America right here.
This is freedom. Looks like.
Dude, oh man. The amount of people now after this podcast, if it's going to be the most gratifying thing for me. If I go through the airport one time and I see someone sitting down eating out of a little bag, I'm like, they listen to this episode.
With a Go One More hat.
Yeah, 100%. I already see those. I want them to listen to this episode and be like, oh yeah, we now do that. I'm going to start doing that now.
There's no shame in it.
Oh, absolutely not. I'm proud.
No shame.